Hello and welcome to The Journey to Wellness, and I'm Marla Hickerson, your host. So the other day I had my girlfriend over for brunch, and she's talking about a new man she met. Love those type of stories. But as the more she kept talking about him, the more I thought, oh, I want to know his story. I want to meet with him. I want to get to what his story is all about. Because stories can be so intricate. There's so much to it. From you think of your childhood and depending where you are in life, there's so many different things that happen within that, and how do we make sense of it all? And so I love stories. And where my position is when someone tells me their stories, that I have the gift of hearing underneath what they're distracting themselves and how they're sabotaging themselves through their stories. I can pinpoint and I can put it all together. But it's in hearing someone's story that's really empowering. Because think of it, to voice your story, it takes a lot of guts, doesn't it? Like, are we going to be heard when we voice our story? Are people going to take us seriously? Or are they going to laugh at us? Like, there's so much at play with us being vulnerable and sharing our stories. But stories can uplift, stories can empower, stories can heal. Stories can inspire us to do something different for ourselves. And so I'm really excited about my next guest because I know who she is. I've had some conversations with her. I know she's all about personal development. And I know that she's been through a lot. But there's still some stories I haven't heard yet. And so this is my chance to listen in and expand my mind. So keep your mind open and let's listen to another story. So welcome, Tanya Covello, to the
Marla.
program.
Hi, Marla.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again.
Thanks.
When you had invited me to coffee a few weeks ago and asked me to share one of my transformations, I immediately thought, well, which one? There's been a few in my life so far. I'm going through some pretty big changes even as we speak.
Oh.
But when you asked to share a big one, I thought that would be a weight loss story.
Okay.
So that was exactly 17 years ago to date. If I were sitting here, I would be about 330 pounds.
Oh my goodness, I can't imagine that.
Yes, I know it's hard to believe. Even my kids say that. I say approximately because in early January or the end of January of 2002, I stopped looking at the scale and I was 320 pounds. So I just didn't want to look at it anymore. So,
So is it not looking at the scale because it's denial of I don't want to face it, or what was it for you?
It was a myriad of emotions. It was, I mean, on one hand, I was really excited to become a new mom. This would be my second daughter.
Okay.
But from a personal level, I just felt very uncomfortable, very sad, depressed. I felt almost as though I was a failure at something because I had allowed myself to put all of this weight on.
But can I ask, was it through the pregnancy or was it through before the pregnancy?
Yes. So during prior to being pregnant, I had always been a very active child and a young adult. I was never overweight per se, but I was always the tallest, and I've always had a bigger frame, a more athletic build. So I had never been overweight, but being the way that I was, I did have some body image issues that I had dealt with throughout my life.
Okay.
So when it fast forward to becoming pregnant, I had planned on being very fit and active because exercise and sport for me growing up and as a young adult was an outlet. That was how I gained my confidence, and it was my safe space. It was my form of meditation per se. So when I became pregnant, well, even before I became pregnant, I had wanted to teach prenatal classes, fitness classes, and postnatal fitness classes. And I wanted to be that woman who was fit throughout her pregnancy, and be that inspiration for others. But as the saying goes, when we make plans, God can sit there and laugh. So unfortunately, I had complications right from the get-go when I was pregnant. So I was pretty much put on bed rest right away. So for the first trimester, first 3 or 4 months, I really didn't do much of anything. I couldn't. Then when I got the okay to go ahead and resume somewhat normal activities, I had really bad back problems, hip issues, sciatic, and all of that. I know now was because of so much inactivity, not moving enough.
Bed rest.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So so I had a month or so of dealing with pain and getting that sorted out. But then 6 months came around, and I was started preterm, so I had to go on complete bed rest for the rest of the pregnancy. So me personally, if I don't move, if I'm not active, I will put on weight fairly quickly. It's just me.
Okay.
So from the get-go, I put on weight very quickly during the pregnancy. So yeah, it was there was a ton of emotions in there. At the time, we lived out in the country as well. I didn't grow up here in Thunder Bay. I'm not from here, so I don't have family here. At that time, I didn't have a lot of friendships. I didn't have I didn't have my village per se.
Yes.
Right.
And support.
And support,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that, I think, in combination with feeling a bit isolated, living a little bit out of town, and then having the weight to deal with, I really played on my emotions. So yes, I was dealing with depression and all of this weight and whatnot. But then it was funny. I almost felt guilty for feeling that way, because I should be feeling ecstatic and happy, which I was as a mom. But again, personally, I was struggling with that. So I knew that once baby was born, and thankfully she was very healthy 2 weeks early, which I'm very happy for. I was happy to be done with being pregnant.
Yes,
and,
no more bed rest.
I knew that I had to do something and get more involved in my own self-care and self-healing. So once she was born and we headed back home, obviously a lot of changes started to occur then. Just getting used to new routines and so forth. So initially, my mother had come, and that was really helpful. So I had somebody here helping me, but when she left, again, it just really reminded me that I needed more support, and I didn't have it. So I had planned on going back home for a month that summer. So when Emma was 6 months, about 4 or 6 months old, I went back home for 4 weeks, and that was a game changer for me. I was surrounded by family and friends, and I really had the support that I needed at that time. And it really helped me to believe in myself again and instill some faith. So it was from that point, I knew I could visualize my path ahead, and I knew that I would lose the weight, and I knew that good things were in store, but it was going to take some work.
But it sounds like you filled, if I say maybe the love tank inside.
Yes. Not
having the support back where you were bedridden, now you're back with family, and it's just that primal mode, that birthplace of support that you did receive. Now it's nourished, and now you have that.
That's a good way to put it.
It's just trying to come out. It's now sustaining you to move forward and go back home and do what you need to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And do you have a husband in this mix?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He was here, but we were operating our own business, so he was very busy.
Okay. So that's stressful right there.
Yes. So there was a lot of other elements at play as well. And I mean, hindsight's hindsight. You look back and you think, oh my God, how did I handle all of that, right?
Yes.
But you do. You just you do what you need to do at the time. So I knew what I had to do, so I laid out a plan. I had a bit of a fitness background at that point. So I laid out a plan, devised a plan for myself, but yet I still studied and read a lot and was inspired by everything that I was reading, and was really moving me. I took a big interest in it. I knew that health and fitness would be part of my career from then on. Yeah, it was just so I knew what I had to do, but I also knew that I had to include more self-care and have that support system here. So even though I didn't have my family here or many friends, I knew that I had to get more involved with activities so that I could put myself out there and create some more friendships and some peer groups.
Tapping into that inner reserve of your personal strength and your personal power to do that for yourself.
That's right, yes.
To know that you're important enough to do that for yourself too.
Yes, exactly. And be brave enough to accept that and to ask for help and know what your limits are. And So it began. So
the journey began.
The journey began.
The journey to what? Can you put that in a paradigm type of thing, in a package?
The journey back home, back to myself, finding myself again, or my new self, because everything moves forward. You don't go backwards.
Okay, we're going to take a break and we're going to get right back on that. Thank you for joining us, and we're back. Tanya, where did the journey go from here?
So I had to dive into a plan that would work for me. So I laid out everything that I knew I had to do that would allow me to be successful in removing this weight off. So I figured out what I needed to do for exercise and for movement. Which was easy for me getting back into that and being active with the kids in the summertime. So that was good. But I still needed other elements in there with strength training, some strength training and more cardio and whatnot. Nutrition came to be a big play. That was completely out of whack at that time. Not enough vegetables and greens and just easy stuff. As people with young families know, it's easy to get into that routine of grabbing quick things and maybe not the healthiest options.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was going through my head, because my background's nutrition.
Right.
So yeah, that's going through my head. What about the diet?
Yes, exactly. Okay. So the diet was huge.
Yes.
Nutrition is really key.
Yes.
So and not just for removing weight, but mentally as well. So cognitively, and I never say that word right.
Okay.
Mentally and physically as well. So those things. I also knew that I had to take care of the support side of things. So I made sure that I was more involved in some group activities with the kids, and as a new mom and for myself as well, I got back into some fitness classes, group things, just to be a little bit more social. So I really honed in on what I felt I needed, which was obviously fitness and nutrition, but also support and some alone time too. And you never, as new parents, it's hard to do that, but even half an hour every couple of days can be a game changer. So I just really focused on being a good new mom, the best that I knew how, and being active and incorporating these new habits. And it really took off. It snowballed. I think once a person makes a decision and commits to that decision, I think we just open up the universe and things come as we need. That's
the
my
support
belief.
will come when you're open to it too, and when you're willing.
Yep.
Everything falls into place. It sounds to me, because I'm also a Circle of Life Health and Wellness coach, it sounds to me like you have the circle of your life, and you know where your strengths are and where you needed to put more support and more time and more effort and more focus.
Yep.
So that sounds like a coach right there, that you're coaching yourself, but not even just coaching yourself.
Truly.
Yeah, like I tell people, it always has to go back to you and taking charge of you and your self-care, because we're so busy taking care of everybody else. So what I'm hearing is that you were your main focus, yet you did have a baby and you already had a daughter, you said, right?
Yep.
So this was your second. So it's really that balancing act, like you said, of I need to be first. It's like, you know, when you're in the plane and they say, put that mask on you first.
Absolutely.
Because you can't take care of them if you're...
I love that analogy.
I know, if you're suffocating of air. So it sounds like you know that you have to be the main priority, and then from there, everybody else is
Right.
loved naturally. You have more from that vessel of nourishment that you got from your family now to give to them, because you keep filling that up for yourself.
That's right.
Okay.
However, maintaining that day after day,
Yes.
that's where the
Yes.
real work comes in, and that's where it
Yes.
gets hard. So you can have great days, great weeks, great
Yes.
couple of months, but life is
Yes.
like rolling waves,
Okay,
right?
so let's talk
things
about
change.
that. What do you do with that? How do you
So
maintain-
well, you adjust, right?
Okay.
Like nothing is idle. Nothing stays the same. So we just I had to just deal with it as it come, and I just did what I knew best at that time. So I just kept going at it, and
Yes.
and even though there were days when, you know, pants that should have come up couldn't come past the
Oh.
knees yet, so those sorts of
Yeah.
days, you know, it's easy to delve into the, I have so far to go, and
Yeah.
it's not happening fast enough, right?
Oh,
In our
we-
society,
yes,
everything
we want it right now. Yeah.
quickly, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there were certainly times where there were hard days. There was very challenging some days, mentally and emotionally, physically tired. But I just kept putting one foot in front of the other and just focusing the best I could on the positive. And so it took a year and a half. I lost the weight, but it was a year and a half.
Okay.
I was super happy, super ecstatic, but I did have skin issues then. So I lost 160, just about 165 pounds. So
Wow, that's a lot
I
of weight.
had, yeah.
In 1
it's
year?
a year and a half, yeah.
Year and a half.
And so the skin issues, obviously I could have just went and visited a surgeon and had it done that way. But I didn't want to. I wanted to do everything I could naturally, on my own first.
So when you're talking skin issues, are you talking about extra skin?
Excess skin.
Excess
Yeah.
skin and,
Yeah.
okay. Because you can lose it, but it's not like you can tone it away. It's there, right? Is it-
You can, but it takes a lot longer,
okay, a
and
lot.
you need to get pretty specific, which
Okay.
we'll get into.
Okay. Okay.
Do we have to?
Okay. And we'll get back into that after break. And we're back, and I'm talking to Tanya about losing weight, and what do you do with the excess weight?
The excess skin that comes
The
when
excess
you
skin when you
when
come from
you-
losing the weight.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
got that clear.
So I realize everybody is different and has different physiological makeup. But for me, I just wanted to do everything that I could to burn it off.
Okay.
So I went back to nutrition, and then I really studied strength training. I had dabbled in strength training as a teenager for sport, and then kept up with what you do in aerobics classes and whatnot, but never
Okay.
really focused on strength training. So I knew that had to be a big part of what I was doing. So I did. I trained hard. I trained 5-6 days a week, weight training, as well as cardio. And then again, nutrition came back. Nutrition is everything. You can do everything you can in the gym, but if your diet isn't
Okay.
on par for what your goals are,
Yes.
then you'll have trouble.
You can sabotage
Yes.
the outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was almost another year and a half, but I did it. I mean, I'm not perfect by no means, but in my mind, that's where I wanted to be. So I still had some loose around the midsection, and maybe a little bit more here and there, but I was really happy with the results. I didn't have any surgery. I didn't need surgery of any sort, which I thought I might need to just to get it off.
Yes.
But it is possible to do. It is. If your hormones are in good health and you're getting enough sleep and you're getting your support, if everything is in balance and you're taking care of your whole self, it's absolutely doable. Absolutely. So I was very, very proud of myself. I felt great. The biggest thing, I mean, we all wish to be different, maybe different shapes or sizes, but it's all really up to us what we want. If you really want to look like this way or that way, then you need to work at these things to be that way.
Doing something specific to be this way or that way?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to be toned up and have less body fat on you and less weight, then you have to put in the work.
Okay.
So not everybody wants to do that, and that's okay. So it's to each of
make a decision and stick with it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So it is hard work, but it will definitely pay off. So I think the biggest thing for me in achieving that, though, was just achieving it. That was pretty immense. But also the feeling of just being free, like mobile. When I was really heavy, you're so limited on your movements, right? If you're how you're supposed to be, you can pop over, jump down on the floor with your kids, or pick this up, or carry that up the stairs, or do this and do that. When you're really heavy, you hurt.
Yes.
Usually, typically.
You're swollen.
You're swollen. You're out of breath.
Yeah.
It's just hard getting up. I remember just that I couldn't stand that feeling of being hot and sweaty and so those things I was very grateful to not have to deal with, and those were motivating points to keep me moving, to always keep me moving forward, to never slip back into some bad habits per se. So being able to be mobile and agile and play sport again and whatnot, that was huge. I was really proud of myself for that. So yeah, all in all, it took when you put in the weight loss time and then the strength training, it was just under 3 years. So that was a big chunk of time, but time well spent. I learned a lot and grew a lot along the way. I think one of my biggest pieces of advice still stands today, and that is regardless of whether you're a new mom or anybody facing any kind of challenges, to be brave enough to ask for help.
Yes.
When you feel like you are struggling, that it's okay. We're human, and we're all going to face challenges of varying degrees, but we're not alone. We're social creatures. We're not supposed to handle stressful big events all alone or by ourselves.
Yes.
Even though at times you might feel that way, or you might not know how to reach out for help or ask for it. So I think that stands as a big one for us all.
I agree. I think it's about what is right for me. Like when I hear you talking about your story, you had to look at each different aspect of your life and make a plan around it, not looking to what society says should be, how we should parent, how we should look, how we should eat, how we should there's so much stress out there on expectations for a woman, especially.
Yes.
We have to look a certain way, right? And how that's done. But you're just tapping into your own reserve and no, this is what feels right for me. And I think that's what you were saying is when we're talking about, because my husband works out heavy with the weights and watches what he eats, yet he progresses like this much, but he knows if he changed just one thing a little bit more, he'd get a bigger result, right? So we have to realize that this is our own journey. We have to make our own decisions and understand that the consequences are because of our own actions. not someone else, right? And not someone else telling us how to do things.
Absolutely.
And not expecting someone else to tell us how to do things properly, because there is no proper.
Exactly.
So we have to, as women especially, let go of any guilt of, oh, it has to be a certain way, or has to.
It won't, I think if we put those expectations on ourselves, that it won't happen.
Yes.
It doesn't organically happen, or
Yes.
you just hit roadblock after roadblock.
Yes.
I think if truly you are meant to go down a certain path, or face a challenge, or make a big change, whatever that is, if it's meant to be, that snowball effect I mentioned earlier starts to happen. Not to say or assume that it's easy at any time. That's not what I'm saying, but it just, more doors seem to open a little easier along the way
Yes.
when you're in the right frame of mind making that choice.
And with my husband and his lifting weights, I will get into the right frame of mind one of these days to start with you. But I'm not there yet. So it is a personal choice. At least he's doing it, I have to say. I'm not yet. I'm getting there. Thank you so much, Tanya, for joining me. Interesting talk. I love your stories, and I know
Thank
you have
you.
more, and I just might invite you for another story.
I would love to come back. I have many more stories.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us on The Journey to Wellness. Speak to you next time.